I think, is this working? Every stream begins with me trying to figure out if it's happening. Um, but is it going live? Maybe, maybe not. Take some
I think
time.
you can press.
Going live. Okay, yes, cool, it works. Yay. Nice. Okay, hello guys. This is Hilmar from Gelato. Today we're gonna go over automating smart contracts. First time that we're meeting, I guess, first live stream in person. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. We're squished in one camera, but
It's very cozy in here.
Yeah, I'm very warm. I got lost like walking into this room, and so he was very kind to help us in. So I guess let's just get started. So you want to tell us about your background?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Hilmar. I'm one of the founders of Gelato. I've been in this space since 2016, roundabout. First time when I entered, I got excited about the first DAO that launched. It sort of got me interested in. I actually didn't know what Ethereum was back then, and I wanted to participate in the first DAO, and I had to buy some shitty ETH to do that. I'm like, what the hell is that? I don't want to do it. I had to run a full node on my MacBook in order to participate in all of that stuff, but it was fun. And yeah, so I joined back then. I studied finance before, worked at a couple of startups from Y Combinator, for example, a couple of others. And I was interested in like the monetary aspects of DeFi and everything, and that got me interested. And then we just started going to hackathons, and built a couple of first automated use cases on Ethereum back then, very simple ones. And we realized that there was this whole infrastructure piece missing in Web3 that allows you to do all sorts of stuff like making your functions and smart contracts trigger conditionally, recurringly, abstracting away gas from end users, or also combining the off-chain world with the on-chain world by making smart contract functions trigger based on stuff happening not on blockchains, right? On, I don't know, the real world somehow. And there was like clear patterns there, and we started building this infrastructure in 2019 roughly. And today I think there are over 300 projects in Web3 using Gelato for all sorts of stuff, from bridges to lending markets like MakerDAO, to L2s like Optimism, to a bunch of other things. And we are shipping some other cool stuff that I want to show also later. And that's round about it.
Okay, you skipped like all of my first questions, so good job, I guess. So kind of just to briefly summarize, Gelato Network, smart contract automation. I thought it was really cool kind of when I dug into it a little bit, because I used to be a DevOps engineer, and any tooling that can help you, I'm just like, yeah, that's great. I mean, there's a reason I also left DevOps engineering. So
sometimes I like if you look from like an emotional perspective what Gelato is, I think I always describe it as a sleeping product.
Okay.
So we help you sleep at night. And because you don't get waking up by 3 a.m. call on a Sunday morning because your servers are down and stuff doesn't execute anymore. So that's why I use Gelato just so your team can rest on the weekends and then have sufficient creativity left to build actually what they want.
Nice. So is there work-life balance at Gelato, or are you helping other companies have
We are the work-life balance by all of you guys. We sacrifice ourselves for you. And no, we have a pretty big engineering team these days. So I think over like 80% of our team are just engineers. Most of them are backend and DevOps. And of course, we're taking turns, but we have very, very dedicated people in the team that are on call always. But our system is we have a robustness these days that barely half a year ago, I still got woken up and at 3 a.m. in the morning and had to fix stuff. But these days, it rarely happens. And we have fallbacks and systems that automatically spin up somewhere else with different RPCs and stuff like that. So we got pretty robust system these days. So it's the work-life balance actually became much better.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, when I was in DevOps, I got really lucky. I would purposely only go onto new projects that never like launched while I was there. So I never had to be on call.
Smart.
Yeah, I know. I'm so intelligent.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of moving forward, I guess you touched upon smart contract automation. I think for our viewers out there, what was kind of the alternative before you guys existed?
Yeah, so basically what we saw is that a good example is the maker keeper system, for example, right? Every DApp or DeFi protocol or Web3 protocol that launched, they were building up these bots, these keepers, these infrastructure pieces, these servers themselves from scratch, and had to basically do the same thing individually for each particular use case they were developing. So they had to spin up servers, they had to spin up full nodes, they had to monitor the state of the blockchain, have to retain a stable connection to each of the networks, and the monitoring conditions going through each block, going through each events in each block, each data bit in each block, and then basically trying to figure out, okay, shall I send a transaction? Then making sure the transaction gets mined, not stuck, unstuck it, handle reorgs, handle all of the different nasty things that blockchains come with. And we thought, okay, why is like if there are like 100,000 projects, will they all need to read, like query and monitor the same state all the time? It's super redundant. Why is there not one system that like checks all the state, all the blocks for all projects? It's so much more efficient just from an economical indexing, reading, writing point of view, that this system will just be much cheaper than everyone just building, maintaining it themselves. And so we thought, okay, that's just idiotic to do it. So let's build that system and let's convince some other people to start using Gelato instead. And so they started and then just kept on building and building.
No, I think that's a really important point because it sounds like kind of beforehand it was definitely a single point of failure kind of thing. And we know we all hate on call, so that's how it goes. Okay, so let's move forward. You said, I think you started talking about this a little bit, but do you want to dive a little bit deeper into kind of the history of Gelato? Maybe you identified a pain point. Where did you go from there?
Yeah, so back then we worked together with Gnosis here in Berlin, and they were building this Dutch exchange auction protocol, the Dutch X back then. And there were a bunch of processes that had to happen recurringly or automatically or conditionally. Let's say auctions were starting, then these auctions had to end to settle. You wanted to withdraw your assets out of the auction automatically, so users don't have to wait 30 minutes, then come back and do the withdrawing and all sorts of things. And we sort of at the beginning we just like help them automate these stuff, and it was more like, hey, pay, like they gave us a grant to help them there, and we're like, okay, let's do this. And then we realized, okay, but it's basically doing sort of like dollar cost averaging on like an auction protocol, and we realized, yeah, but you could also do that on other dexes. Like there was like Kyber was the biggest back then, Uniswap was very small, and no one was using it. And then we're like, well, let's figure out how to do it with Kyber. Well, let's figure out how to do it with Uniswap. And yeah, but like these trading is cool, but what about like lending? Can you just like not refinance your loan from one place to another automatically? That would also be cool. And then we just had all these use cases in mind. We thought, okay, there's so many. Which one should we build? And what problems do they share? And they all shared the same issue of automation. And so we decided, okay, let's just build a very robust, scalable system that does that, and then all the other guys can build whatever use case they want on top. And this is how we came from like a single use case to a wider array of what is happening, and then to the infrastructure, rather than starting in the infrastructure and then trying to figure out the use cases, which a couple of other projects might.
That sounds like a lot of Web3.
Ended up, and so we actually started the other way around. We started with the use cases, and then at some point we're like, okay, we had so many in mind, and then we said, okay, let's just build an infrastructure to support all of them, and this is then how it started.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. When you guys start with use case first, I guess Gelato's not a scam. That's why he's here.
I hope not.
I hope not. Yeah. Okay, cool. You started Gelato. Do you want to talk about the process of getting to where you guys are now today, right? You started in 2016. Gelato started
2019.
2019. Oh, actually, that's pretty recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. And then kind of what does it look like been building starting in 2019 to where we are now?
So I think for us, at least, we were like building a lot at the beginning. Like Louis and I, he's my co-founder, we were the first, I think, the first year and a half, we were just building the two of us. And just shipping the stuff and reiterating it. It was in the middle of the first bear market, right? There wasn't money thrown around lavishly like it was in the last couple of years. So we just were building and iterating and having fun, going to hackathons, winning prizes, and sort of living by the month. Then at some point, I think people realized the potential in there, and then we got approached from investors if they could invest, and then we said, okay, why not?
Yeah.
And so we then raised our first round in 2020 and got the first employees on board, more developers, and then also other people. And then so just like slowly building up a team and going really from, I think what's important at the beginning, especially if you build infrastructure, is that you really focus on the use cases. And really, like what we did is we started and we just built the most general, bulletproof, perfect protocol in theory in a laboratory that we thought, okay, every single use case in the world will be supported by this. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then we shipped it out, and then we're like, okay, so no one is just using it? Okay, shit. Then we had to go to the projects and said, okay, why don't we use it? And then we said, and they're like, yeah, we don't have time to integrate it. We have our own stuff to do. We're like, okay, let's help them do it. And then we realized how shitty our system is and how complex it actually is for them to integrate it. And then we basically scratched all of that and just started identifying 3-4 major use cases and building a system that sort of makes it as easy as possible for all of them to integrate it. So starting again from the use case, then working backwards, and then we basically generalized back from there rather than generalizing and going more specific.
Yeah.
Which was again a huge learning. It's like, hey, please always start at the use cases and then work yourself backwards and not the other way around. And then we just got one project using us 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, now 300 or something. And just been, and these days, back then we had to go to them and build it for them so they use us. And now, like every day, like I think multi-chain started using us last week. The week before, Layer Zero started using us for stuff, and then the week before, like Optimism or stuff. So they are nowadays. It just like happens because people know about it. They know the reliability and the user friendliness of it, and it just took some time, I guess.
No, user friendliness, it's like A+. So I built a kind of demo beforehand, and also your support is really great. Like, I got it. It wasn't working at all, and I just messaged into Discord, and you guys responded right away.
Brandon is probably
there. Brandon was awesome, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. He's like, you spelled you in incorrectly, and I was like, okay, thank you.
God.
This is guys, Gelato is really easy to use. Solidity sucks. Okay, so, but I was frustrated because there was no compilation error that came along with it. Okay. But we can get into that later. So obviously you've kind of encountered challenges getting to where you are now. Let's talk about future, right? What do you kind of predict is going to be hard or is hard right now? Maybe, I don't know.
So a lot of things are hard. So first of all, what we built is, or what the vision always was, is that, hey, it is completely unfeasible for every single project to build this decentralized sort of off-chain computation system themselves for smart contract automation, for relaying, for getting off-chain data and everything. And so it just makes sense to have like these networks that deal with that for everyone and are inherently themselves decentralized. And so we are working very hard on making our system more permissionless and more decentralized over time. So right now, for example, we still have whitelisting control for certain aspects to make sure that, hey, everything's secure and robust. But we're actually working on using our token more to facilitate and help us with that over time. And then the goal is really to have Gelato be this sort of module for that you can just plug into any sort of chain. Right now, EVM compatible, but at some point also others, Cosmos and stuff. And the network just lives, right? It's just there. Everyone can join and leave it. It is super organic and sustainable, and we could shut down everything at our company and it work. So this is a huge part of what, and it's really hard, obviously. But
everything's hard.
But we got an awesome team working on this.
Brandon's great.
Brandon, for example, but they are like I can't even name all of them. So they're all amazing guys and girls. And then it's like a lot of these new things that we are shipping. For example, enabling a new way how projects can leverage off-chain data and computation to basically have an end-to-end connection between the traditional world, and traditional world I mean the traditional finance world, but just the internet or the real world, and your smart contracts, where you can define yourself where, like, who you trust from the data integrity point of view, which maybe Oracle provider or just a first party Oracle like a CoinGecko that signs data, or just yourself or whoever. And you can get that data from any server, do computation on that, and then use it to then trigger transactions on chain. And we have this new framework that we developed right now. This is already being used. Like the private beta started last week. There are already a bunch of projects using it in production today. And I think this will be a whole new. This will enable a whole new array of use cases where you can go super crazy in the things you build. And you can finally do things on chain based on social media data from the real world, or sport event data, or any kind of cool stuff. And I think I'm super bullish on these things. And
Yeah. I mean, I think that's so important, right? My understanding is your first use case was DeFi.
Yeah.
Right. So do you want to kind of talk about that, and then we'll branch off into how you've grown into the rest of Web3?
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. And I actually gave a talk 2 days ago talking about that. We finally reached a point of not relying on DeFi as a core growth driver anymore, but actually having gaming, NFTs, and stuff come in, which is a big change to the last sort of bear market back then. Well, we started with DeFi because there was nothing else that DeFi back then. And actually, DeFi just started. It was the MakerDAO was there, Kaiba was there. There were like Uniswap just started, and then some weird like BZX and stuff were there. And so we actually went out and said, okay, what is there today that we can help automate? And then we realized, okay, there are first of all lending. So there's a bunch of stuff, and one of the first hackathon prizes I won was from back then ETHLend still, where it's like an automated interest rate swap between MakerDAO and ETHLend, for example, that you could do. So like interest rate stuff with lending and liquidation stuff. And then there was trading, and trading was very much about buying, selling, limit orders, strategies and stuff. And then there was the third one was liquidity provision. So I could help projects create deeper markets so people can buy and sell. So these were the only things that were going on in Web3 for a long time. And then transferring money back and forth. These are sort of like basic ones.
My favorite part.
Yeah, your favorite part. And then now, actually, when I look at the tasks that are created every day on Gelato, they're actually completely random. And you have use cases such as horse breeding. Or so digital
I saw
horse
that
breeding
on like maybe your Twitter or something.
And for example, like Zrun, this is one of my favorite games in Web3 on Polygon, where you can really like race digital horses and they look sick and the game experience is nice. And you can rent them out now, and this renting agreement lasts 3 days, and then Gelato automatically takes the horse back into your own wallet and stuff like that. So like renting markets and NFTs, and then just starting games. And you can think about what are games like. Of course, you have multiplayer, but then you have NPCs, so non-player characters, like a Pokemon, right? You will walk into the grass and the Pokemon just randomly attacks you.
Yeah.
Like in the future, this will be like there will be a function attack, and then someone has to call this Pokemon. But what is the Pokemon? The Pokemon is just a smart contract, and it will randomly attack you. But it has to sort of send that transaction, right?
Okay.
So all these NPCs that will be in these games will be just like automated smart contract functions being called all the time.
Okay.
And so there are like already guys building that, and more and more we see these fun but also social coming along now, but especially gaming and NFTs coming along, which I'm super excited about because they're just random. And I like random stuff. So
okay, so I guess the journey of Gelato has been like DeFi to automated Pokemon. That's really fun. Okay, cool. Let us move on to my next question. Let's get a little bit more technical. Yes, how does Gelato work? Like, let's talk about architecture.
Yes. All
right.
So, what is Gelato? How does it work, right? I think, first of all, what is important to understand is that smart contracts are not smart. They're actually quite dumb, right? They don't know much. What they do is they store certain logic within them, right? And that logic dictates how you can alter the state in Ethereum, right? So you have some state and you can change it, alter it, move it around. And that's basically it. what a smart contract can do. And everything else that you want to do in order to trigger these smart contracts or dictate what data should be used to execute these smart contracts, or when or how, this has to be done off-chain, right? Either on a UI, on a client, or on servers programmatically. And what's Gelato? Gelato is basically just like a network of node operators, similar to like Ethereum node operators, that run a specific client, the Gelato client. And that Gelato client is just specialized in monitoring 18 different EVM chains at the same time and knowing what's going on, what events are triggered, what state is being changed, etc. Now also being able to monitor off-chain APIs and knowing what's going on in the real world. And then based on that, Gelato nodes evaluate whether a condition that you have defined previously is fulfilled. And when this condition is fulfilled, for example, hey, the price of Ether just drops below $1,000. If this condition is fulfilled, then Gelato will run, these nodes will run a certain logic that you also can arbitrarily define, that then generates some data that will be used to then execute a transaction. So you can define a trigger, and you can find a script that should be run in order to generate the data that should be used to execute transactions, and then Gelato will just do it for you. Sort of like a, hey, if this happens, please do that type of thing. Across 18 different chains in a very highly scalable way, basically. And you have two sort of parts in the system. So you have two nodes, actually. So one is the validator node and one is the executor node. The validator nodes, what they do is they do this checking all the time. They say, hey, can I execute this? Can I execute that? Can I execute this? Right? And they run this logic. And then the executors, they basically get this data from the validator nodes, signed off and said, hey, this is the right data to be used to execute. And then they get it and they make sure they're connected to all these chains, and they make sure they get it mined or validated at the right time, very quickly, gas efficiently.
Yeah.
Without getting stuck. Yeah.
Cool. So where does Gel come in then?
Yeah, Gel. So Gel is the utility token, the governance token of the whole system. So our first idea, the first goal with this was we wanted to completely abstract it away from our users. So no one has to get Gel and deposit Gel and pay with Gel. This has nothing to do. You don't have to do it. You can just go to a website. You can pay with ETH, Matic, USDC, or whatever, but you don't even have to know Gel exists, right? Gel is really interesting, or Gel comes in for these nodes. So these nodes, they need to acquire Gel, and they need to stake Gel in order to participate in the network, similar to how you buy ETH and then stake it ETH to validate the blockchain, right? And to earn the ETH rewards. And in the same way, you have to buy Gel to run these clients and be able to validate these tasks and then execute them to earn a fee with them, right? And Gelato is a revenue generating protocol. So for each transaction, for sort of the computation that is happening, revenue is generated, and this revenue can be made accessible to these node operators. And they, in order to get more revenue, they need to stake more, for example. And that sort of ties the growth of the system to the Gel token, because people need to get it in order to acquire it. And the more revenue you can make from running these validators, the more demand is there for the Gel token. At some point, probably also some delegation. So normal people can say, hey, I delegate my Gel to Emily's node that is running there. And then you can earn money from there, and you can share it with your community that trusts that you do it correctly and according to the protocol. And you can, of course, hold them accountable. If they misbehave, you can slash them. And so this is where the Gel comes in. It's basically distributing the rewards of the system, giving it more integrity, because people can be held accountable, and making sure people have skin in the game when they run these clients. It's not just like random people that can just say, hey, I won't execute anymore. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. I keep looking on screen because my questions are on the side. Okay, yes. Before we move forward into the demo, I guess to briefly go over the demo, I'm going to be doing Gelato Ops. You're going to be handling Resolver. Do you want to explain each one?
I would love for you to explain it.
Actually. Oh my god, I felt this.
And I want to correct it then afterwards if it's not right.
Okay, cool. So this sounds like hey, we have comments. Let's Yes, it is IRL. I mean, technically, it's always been IRL, right? So, okay, whatever. Let's move forward. Gelato Ops is. Oh, dang it! I read it. It is. Okay, I can tell you how Gelato Ops work. I don't think I'll be able to explain it succinctly without getting really embarrassed.
I can chip in here and there.
Okay, so the way it works is basically it's like your automation hub, right? So it's this UI that actually is really beautiful. And it basically handles number one, identifying what task you want to automate. Number two, the conditions under which you are going to automate it in. This comes in also two varieties of flavors. So specifically, if we think about the task that we are automating, it's not necessarily conditional. It's just going to keep executing. So what that looks like for Gelato Ops is you just tell it, hey, this is actually a super simple task. Maybe we'll just set it on a timer and it'll execute. The second piece is going to be when it is conditional. So this is where resolvers come in. I guess a resolution of condition. I don't know why I was named that. But that is going to be the demo that I'm going over today. So kind of to backtrack, if you guys weren't here with us last week, we built an NFT rental marketplace. And kind of the next step, I don't know if it's the best use case. You can tell me yes or no, but kind of like an automated cleanup in a sense, because we're continuously adding more and more listings to basically a map or something in the contract, right? And as these listings expire, or like I guess, expire in the sense that the lister says, I don't want this end date to happen anymore, we should be going in and removing them. So that's kind of where I went with direction of my demo. I don't know if I explained like Gelato Ops necessarily, but I feel like use case is better. You start with use case.
Yeah, and then you could work backwards.
Exactly. Yeah. So do you want to correct anything there?
No, that was epic. I
was
think
epic?
yeah. So
Okay.
so what is Gelato Ops? It's just like a dashboard where you can go to and sort of depending on the complexity of your particular use case, you might just be able to go ahead and automate it right away without writing a single line of code. You have your smart contract. It has a function. You want to execute it every day. Bam, you're done. For example, a good example is synthetics fee claiming. I think synthetic distributes rewards every week or so, and you have to claim them. And if you don't claim them in time, I think they sort of expire or something. So there are like hundreds of people actually on Gelato Ops that just like every week call this claim function on their behalf, and they can just set a timer to every week, call this contract, and then they're done. But if you are, and this can be used by people that are non-developers, right? They can just follow some instructions and they can do it. We actually are thinking about adding like a recipe page where you can sort of define these automated tasks for other people, and then they can just click on it and it works. But for you, and in your case, you're more building like a protocol, right? So there you would want to write a resolver most of the time that sort of is not just time-based, but check some conditions that you want to be fulfilled. Yeah. And this is where resolvers come in. You can define arbitrary conditions that you want to have fulfilled in order to trigger your transaction.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Say hi to Hilmar. Gelato Snap
Francesco.
is oh, hello.
Hello, sir.
Okay, so this is what I'm reading. Francesco works with me. I think he's MetaMask DevRel. Super cool, very knowledgeable about like the merge stuff that's happening. Yeah. Oh, are we building a Gelato Snap?
Oh, there's some alpha, Francesco. You can't. It's some alpha right there.
Okay, we can get it into it later. Okay.
No, it's just there's a very interesting idea floating around, but
yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, you promised me alpha, so I guess Francesco delivered.
Francesco,
yeah. Okay, cool. Let's get started. I'm gonna start sharing my screen. I guess you guys will just see me copy paste everything because I don't have an external desktop anymore because we're just on my laptop. So don't look at my what do you call it? Slack messages. I hope there was an alpha there. Okay, so like I said, we are building on our marketplace from last week. So the first step you would do actually is going to just go ahead and clone it if you haven't already done this. Last week. If you didn't, shame on you. I built this for the good of the world. Cool.
For the world to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, Web3 is supposed to revolutionize the way we interact with the internet, right? So if no one's producing new content with intelligent people, we can't get there.
Totally.
Oh, okay. I should get into a better git clone gelato demo. Cool. So just to clarify, I'm always like deploying a new marketplace contract. If you are following along, episode 2, we talked about proxies. That's probably the better way to go here, but that's okay. So I'm going to open up the truffle folder of this. I'm sorry, I also didn't have any slides today because it's been merge party after merge party. So we're just gonna figure it out. What you're gonna do?
Too many parties.
Too many parties, guys. This is why
such a tough job.
I know it is.
My God.
I have no time to sleep. I've been super stressed.
To go to too many parties.
I know. Man. It's hard. It's a hard life. But so just to go over installation instructions again, you're gonna need truffle. This time, actually, you don't need to download Ganache because Gelato is not compatible with a local test chain. So pick up that test ETH. Faucets everywhere.
We still have to talk about truffle, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, to me, I think my goal with this series is more so just being agnostic. I'm more interested in learning. At the end of the day, truffle is the base layer. We also build to integrate, so you can use it whether or not you're using Hard Hat, Foundry. There are ways you can combine these things. But we're here to shield Gelato.
No, truffle as well, truffle.
No.
Truffle.
Stop. We only have 30 minutes, so let's see if we can get
Gelato would be an interesting.
That sounds like just chocolate, right?
Truffle?
Truffle chocolate flavored gelato. Okay. Or do you mean like truffle pieces?
That sounds I don't know. Too lavish, I think. Yeah.
Though, to be fair, we keep getting off topic. We were at DAppCon Berlin. Gelato had a ice cream stand, and then each one was like flavored.
It was a gelato stand.
Yeah,
it wasn't ice cream. There's an important difference.
I'm American. I was born in Texas. I live in California. Yeah. Please forgive me. Let's get started. Don't be mean on my demo. I don't remember what the first thing I need to do is. Okay, let's open up our marketplace smart contract, actually. You don't know. So basically, I guess I have all of these red parts. I forgot to do this again, but if you guys remember, because this folder is like nested, the VS Code extension, like Juan Blanco Solidity extension, can't like auto detect it. This will still work. We're just gonna ignore the red lines. So yeah, moving forward, I think the first thing we need to do is actually write our
Did you
task.
Do an R install or npm install?
Oh shiz.
I think that's maybe because it's red.
Oh yeah. Guys, yeah.
You just freshly cloned it, right? That's
yeah. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up dang it. You guys can watch my pull request. I haven't committed this yet, but this is where all the code lives. And I'm just gonna copy paste because I'm very prone to typos and I don't want to be embarrassed by this person right here.
No, I do a lot of mistakes myself.
I don't believe that. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is actually write the automated task. So I'm gonna copy this. It's gonna be super simple. The lines are still there.
I have to refresh or something.
I don't know.
Maybe put it and open it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is I do need to add like a VS Code settings.
Okay.
But if it doesn't compile, then yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll just add it to the bottom, I guess. So like I said, we have a function that is just called remove unavailable listings. I'm having it take in a list of unavailable listings and then essentially just go through each one, call Unlist NFT, which we already wrote last week. If brief summary, it just says, hey, here's my contract, here's the token, let's go through and clean up our data. And yeah, reset expiration dates for the rentals and everything. So that is everything here. Let's get actually into the resolver part because that's the part that's more interesting. The first thing that we are going to do is actually create a resolver interface. I don't think this is necessary, right? No, but I'm just going to do it because your example on your docs does it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Having an interface is always nice, right?
Yeah. So. I mean, it's a little bit of overkill, I think, in this case because there's only this contract. But resolver. Cool. And that should make it. And then I'm going to copy paste this.
I think it's important to know that this is the interface of the resolver that you.
Yeah. So this is the checking part, right? Basically deciding whether or not the task is going to execute. I guess new modifier I want to introduce you to, guys, is external. We've been using public a lot. The difference between external and public is external can only be called externally, I think is what it is. I'm going to say that's what it is. Whereas if you want a public function, it is going to be able to be used internally as well. That is to say, external functions are cheaper gas-wise. So something to consider when you're writing your smart contracts. But okay, let's move forward. We're going to import this resolver. Oh yeah, the lines are gone. Nice. And then add it on. So basically now we just need to implement this function. So I'm going to head back here and copy paste. So this is actually kind of big.
It's a massive checker function.
I'm sure there's better ways to do this, but I did this yesterday in like a few hours, or well, most of the hours came from just trying to freaking figure out that I spelled int as unt. Okay, I just messed up all the tabs. I don't know what's happening. I think that looks better. Okay, so same thing, right? We're overriding the checker function. It's returning, so resolvers basically return two things. It resolves a can exec, so we're going to return true or false depending on whether or not our condition is fulfilled. Exec payload is basically like 4 bytes, maybe. It's the byte version of whatever function that you want to call, which is going to be our list or remove unavailable listings.
It's basically the encoded function that you want to call, right? So it's the remove list function selector. If you encode that, you're returned with 4 bytes, which is the function selector, and then the data you want to use in that, right? So the list of all things you want to remove.
Right. So this first part is just basically, I guess, iterating through all of our listings, gathering the count of what is going to be our list of unavailable listings, so that if you look later when we create this list, we can just instantiate with that number. So that's the first part. The second part is actually going to be finding the conditions for which we're going to say false. So in this case, if there's nothing unavailable, we don't want to execute any task. This was also on kind of their best practices thing. Basically, depending on your, I guess, task that you're writing, if you don't really care about when it's going to execute, it's probably a good idea to make sure it's not going to execute during a time of like when it's expensive, right? So ensuring that gas is, I guess, better or like good enough. So, I mean, in this case, time is arbitrary. I think it's just going to execute at every block, or it's just going to check every block, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. The thing that's different between the resolver and a normal or an easy one is like, at least through the UI, the static one, you can just add the time, right? But then if it's a resolver, you have to actually check the time and then choose like last executed and return false, right? Exactly. Okay, cool. So keep that in mind, guys.
And maybe a best practice around that, especially, so there are two ways of writing resolvers, and then sort of the actions you want to execute, the target contract, right? In this case, it's the marketplace contract. And so what you can also do is you can have the resolver be not in the marketplace contract, but just like a separate resolver, because then you can just deploy a new resolver, and you don't have to redeploy the whole marketplace. So that's a cool
you
thing.
should tell Brandon to revise his Discord message.
Oh, yeah. He's lazy. Brandon just thinks he had to dump it in there, right?
Yeah, I mean that's why we have the interface, right?
And this is also what many people do, but it's also completely fine if you don't expect the resolver to change, right? But actually, well, you can actually you can also, it doesn't matter. You can also just deploy, like, let's say you want to change the resolver to execute if it's above 100 Gwei, because gas price just like rose the average, right? Then you can just deploy a separate contract with this function, and then just create a new task that points to the other resolver. So it sort of doesn't matter. So yeah, you can be lazy and do that.
Okay.
I like to.
Brandon, you're off the hook.
Brandon, just very barely you got off the hook there. We have to have a conversation when I'm back.
Okay, cool. And then the second piece here is actually going to be kind of our log message. So when things are returning false, you want to know why it's not. That is the reason it's not.
And on the UI, we then have a log section in there.
So we'll demonstrate that. Nice. Cool. And then the last piece here is actually populating the unavailable listings. So I'm not going to step too far into it, but just saying like, oh, the end date is past the current time, or the other way around. I forget math, but you get the point. And then the last piece here is going to be the part where, hey, this is successful. We passed everything. So the encoding of the selector, I guess just brief introduction. You kind of touched on this. I mean, it's like it's the hash of the function from everything from like the name to the signature. It's the first 4 bytes is always going to reflect what that is. I don't know what the rest of the bytes do. Maybe just there to party. But anyways, 4 bytes is just going to be the important part, and then we're passing in the parameter, and then it's going to execute.
Exactly. And maybe what's worth mentioning here is that this is a pretty beefy function, right? It looks expensive, right? If you look at it, it looks like bougie. It looks expensive. Like you use quite a bit of gas there. But the cool thing is with Gelato, this function is not called on chain. Gelato knows just call it off chain, so you never pay for this. So this is just the gas that, like, on chain, when transaction is executed and you have to pay for the transaction, you don't pay for all of this. This is just off chain. So so you can be a bit.
This is why I wrote it like this, because I'm like, I'm lazy, right? That's the point you guys exist. Though I think the second piece is, I keep mentioning this in every single Unleashed episode, is like, I do not come from a like Solidity background. I just jumped from DevOps into here. So things like gas optimization, like best practices, trying to like find somebody to just tell me everything. You seem like knowledgeable, but I can't like double dip. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll figure it out. But I mean, that's it, basically, I think.
Yeah, no, it looks good.
Yes. Oh, okay. So then the last piece we need to do is deploy. So I'm just gonna, how do I do this? I don't actually know if I have dashboard up. So I'm just gonna bring this up. Hopefully it will. Cool. So we are confirmed. I'm on Girly. Nice. Okay. Cool. Truffle. Migrate. Actually, I'm going to just do this in the console so I don't have to keep touching network. Dashboard. Migrate. So if you don't know, this is basically allows you to sign your transactions with your MetaMask wallet. This does get annoying if you have a lot of transactions, but at least for the purposes of demos, cool. You're not going to see.
So you don't have to have like a private key somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned this.
That's cool.
In my it's nice. And then you see this coming soon part. So September 30th, we're having our community call, and I'll be kind of touching on all of our various truffle things. But I guess to quickly plug, transaction insights inside of MetaMask is actually powered by Truffle. So to briefly touch on that, for those of you who don't know, it's basically taking this hex data string and then converting it into data that is machine readable. So part of contrast here is basically going to be a UI where you can view what's going on with your transactions in a machine readable, human readable way, rather than this hodgepodge of numbers. But I think it's been deployed. Let me pull up where is my VS Code? Yay, it's done. Okay, so it's been deployed. The next piece is actually to go to Gelato, I think, right? Did I need to do anything else? I don't know.
Did you verify the contract? Is it?
Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't want to take the time to verify. Okay. You can just paste in the ABI, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
But it's nice because it fetches it right. But no, don't worry about it.
I'm sorry, things take time. Okay, we only have 15 minutes. I want to give you time to do your thing. So let's go back here. What is our contract address? Here we go. So our marketplace address, we're going to paste here. Like you had mentioned, so you can't verify. I mean, this is not verified contract. So I guess when you go grab the information, you don't have any of that code. Yeah. If you guys remember from last week, which you should have attended, we went over contract verification. Truffle has our plugin, Truffle Plugin Verify, that will just verify it through the CLI. But to go back, we need the ABI. Why is my deployment not here? Where did it go? Nice. Okay, cool. So this has all of the ABIs. If you guys don't have the Truffle extension, you'll just find this in your build path that you define in the config. But it's pretty easy because it's just nice. Here.
I like that.
Where's Marketplace? Is this the correct? Damn. Okay, here we go.
There you go.
Okay, deployment. Cool. And then we're just gonna pick this up. Copy and paste. Damn. No, I pasted in the wrong one. Okay. I'm just going to start over. Yeah. I'm sad. Cool. And then, okay. I'm in the correct text box. Cool. And then you just select a function. And then I guess, does this filter based on what functions are able to be automated? Right?
So there won't be any private or internal ones, just external and public ones.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
No view.
Oh, yeah.
We filter them.
Cool. And then this is the next piece. So predefined inputs. This is like the simple case, right? If you follow Gelato docs, I think it's called like lick my ice cream. It feels a little uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I'm doing my own demo. I don't want to tell people to like, hey guys, lick my ice cream. You know what I mean?
We're actually adding a cross-chain lick my ice cream class.
Okay, if you're gonna add it, please like rename it to like not like my like lick ice cream. You know what I mean? Just not like or like lick your ice cream. Like just not mine. You know? Okay.
It's just an ice cream. I don't know what it's just an ice cream.
It's Berlin, right? Okay.
We like ice cream here.
Yeah. Next piece is the resolver. So the proxy smart contract, I guess, is to make your resolver upgradable. I wasn't sure about this part.
Ooh.
Right. If you want to explain it.
Yeah, this is actually a new feature.
Yeah.
And I think it still has to be explained a bit better than this. But long story short is basically how the current transaction flow happen is that here's the marketplace contract that you want to automate, right? And then here's the Gelato node that will send the transaction. What it does, it will send the transaction to the Gelato smart contract. There's a Gelato smart contract. And this smart contract has some security checks and makes sure, hey, the task was created by you and you wanted that. And security is the node operator whitelisted, stake, blah, blah, blah. And then this smart contract will be the message sender that will call you a smart contract, right? However, this contract, this was like how it usually was, but it could be that let's say you say, hey, I want Gelato to only execute my contract every hour, for example, right? But someone else could actually create a task that calls, and then you whitelist Gelato, the Gelato smart contract as the message sender on your function that can call it. But then someone could come in and say, hey, I create another task that calls your contract every half an hour. Maybe you don't want that, right? So what you can do is, if you toggle this, but for this purpose, I think we can untoggle it. And what you can do is Gelato will deploy a proxy contract, which is just like a normal proxy contract for you, that is your own proxy contract. And so Gelato will call your proxy contract, and your proxy contract will be the message sender that will call your function. So only the task that you create will be able to execute your function. And this just adds another level of security to your smart contracts, so that no one else can create tasks that will then be used by Gelato to execute your function. Just your tasks can do it. And so you can basically just remove all of the requires out of the functions that you want to have automated, and you just put them in the resolver.
I have so many requires in all of them. Okay, nice.
And you can basically remove them all, and then you can just have only Gelato proxy as a modifier of this smart contract function. Then as long as you have the conditions in the resolver, you can be sure that these transactions will only ever execute once your resolver returns true. And so you can outsource a lot of the requires into resolvers, and you can change them, you can update them without having to update your smart contract. And so that's why if you want your transaction to be extra safe, you have to toggle this. If you don't care about this, and anyone, like, it's just
I don't care,
then you can untoggle it. That is also a bit cheaper gas-wise.
Okay. You were talking, and I remember I did actually forget one step. So if we go back to our code, damn, that means I have to redeploy. Okay, sad. It's okay. I'm rich in test ETH, so it's fine. The piece here actually is the way we had written Unlist NFT last time was that it could only be unlisted by either the owner of the token ID or the marketplace contract. But now Unlist NFT is going to be called by Gelato Ops contract. So we actually have to whitelist that. So I think, I don't know what this, is it this one? No.
You're looking for the address of the
contract? Yeah. Is it this one?
Yeah,
this is the same.
So yeah, you just have to go to ops. This is the contract. You can go to deployments. What is Harder doing here? I should be careful. Girly, right?
Yeah.
And then it's the ops contract. This is the message. This will be the message sender. And in the other case, this address would be your proxy address that you would deploy. So if you actually do this, then you would have to just take this one.
Oh, okay.
So it will just tell you here which address to use to whitelist. But in this case, it's this one.
Cool.
Yeah. So I already have it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just add it as a constant at the top. Well, actually, I know if I should be, but I hate these spaces.
Double space, interesting.
Yeah. Gelato. And then this is girly specifically, right? Cool. And then I think the next piece then is to go back to Unlist and add one more condition. So it has to be Gelato. Why is this not completing ops early? I think that's what it was.
No, Gelato girly.
It was just Gelato girly. Okay. See, this is why you need someone to sit right next to you.
Yeah, but I think for this, I would actually, for such if you have this condition in there, I would actually recommend that you have your own proxy contract, call it, just for security reasons. So if we can just go back, I would just activate this.
Yeah.
And copy your address, and then make it Gelato proxy, and then just change this to your proxy address.
Okay, nice.
This is deterministic, so this proxy address will be the same across all chains for you.
Okay, so
you don't need to redeploy.
Yeah.
For each chain.
Okay, but I still need to redeploy right now.
Yeah, you still need to redeploy.
Okay,
It's not upgradable.
Sad. Well, if this demo breaks because of you, it's his fault. It's not mine.
It's always his fault.
It's always your fault. Okay, so we'll just go back, hit a migrate, and then we'll head over to our dashboard and wait.
I like this.
I know.
like the dashboard.
I like it too. I mean, if you are using Hardhat, it's just localhost. So, yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. People have also just like deploy their contracts with their Ledger wallets, and I'm kind of like, why?
Can I use this also in other?
Yeah. So you just add it to your Hardhat config.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You should have attended my talk on Tuesday, man. It was.
Apologies.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But that's actually quite nice.
Have things to do outside of stuff. Well, if you want another plug or truffle debugger in VS Code, so it's like the breakpoint and the step in, step out, is gonna be Hardhat compatible. So the CLI version right now we just did that last month. And then so the next step is actually to integrate it into the VS Code native debugger. Sweet. Wow, so cool, right? I mean, that was my thing, because I feel like right now a lot of beginners just debug using console log, which is not sustainable. Also, Ganache does have console log, guys. But whatever, this is a gelato thing. We're not shilling truffle.
I need to shill this to our desks.
Yeah. And then if you guys run into trouble, just ping me, and I will try to be as good as Brandon. I can't guarantee that. But I guess we just start over. And then we go back to our deployment. Actually, it should be similar. Okay. And then remove. And then our resolver. And we're keeping that. And then we're going to head here.
Auto-populate it if it's the same address.
It should auto-populate?
We should auto-populate it.
See, look.
Renato, when you, in case you're watching, we need to auto-populate this if it's the same address.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this has already been actually a pretty painful experience because you can't do it locally. So, okay, so we'll call it remove unavailable listings. Can we say like lick my listings? That's really uncomfortable. Okay, so then I guess here there's.
It's stuck with you, right?
Yeah. This is why I reached out to you, because I'm like, I need to talk to you as a person. So no, you're not as cool. There's Gelato Balance and then transaction. I actually didn't read too much into this. If you want to explain.
Yeah. So with Gelato Balance, basically what you have to do, the transactions are not for free on Gurley or Ethereum or whatever chain, right? You need to pay for them. So in order to pay for the gas that Gelato will basically front you, you will have to deposit. There are two options. You either deposit into your Gelato Balance, which is like the sort of advised way of doing it because it's the easiest. You just put in, let's say, a bit of ETH, and then this balance will basically be used similar to like a prepaid SIM card or something. To pay for your transactions, and as long as you have a balance in there, you're all good, and Gelato will just deduct it for each transaction. Actually, some alpha for all of you. Newest feature coming out pretty soon is
news.
News feature. Sorry. And let's say you got this marketplace, but you got like 3 different chains, right? You would have to like put in Matic on Polygon and AVAX on Avalanche, and then OP on or like ETH and Optimism as well, still ETH for transactions, right? But what if you can just put in Ethereum on Ether on Ethereum, and then it will pay for all of your transactions on all other chains? Wouldn't that be nice? Then you just have to manage one balance. And Gelato pays for you on other chains, and you don't even have to have balances there. The one balance system will be soon released.
Okay, I haven't built anything multi-chain, so I'm still like, can you just have us deploy it on local? That's the thing I care about the most.
Okay.
I think there's an issue for it. But anyways, okay. Moving forward.
But you already deposited, right? You got $81 in here, and if you don't, you can just like input one, and you could deposit here as well. But you don't need to in this case. But yeah, maybe just to round up, transaction pays itself, right? Maybe you want to pay for the transaction. Maybe this sort of task you don't want to pay for it or something, right? Or let's say you use there's some already ETH inside a contract, and the Ether is just sent to whoever calls that function. There's already like a built-in business model within that function. In this case, you can just click transaction pays itself, which means you don't have to have a balance in Gelato. It can be zero, but it expects the transaction to pay Gelato. So if you have like a smart contract function that pays Gelato, and you can just query how much Gelato wants to be paid in that transaction, then you're good as well. So it's just like a second way of paying for your transaction. But Gelato Balance is like the easiest one.
So this one you actually have to like write code to handle, right? Yeah, that's why I didn't do it. Okay, cool. And then we're gonna, I think, oh yeah, no, that's the task name. Okay, we're gonna create the task.
This basically assigns the name of the task. The task name is not stored on chain, not necessary.
Okay, so nice. And then I think there's like confetti, right? That happens.
I'm not sure if it happens for all tasks, but like for the first task, it definitely should happen. Sometimes a bit slow because we are fetching subgraphs here, and these sort of things sometimes take a bit of time. Renato, optimize it. Oh
yeah. So there's what was that?
Gelato.
Oh, those are ice cream. Those look like acorns. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so we are here. I guess this is information. We haven't listed anything on the marketplace right now. So according to the solver, we should actually expect the logs to have all of that information, or like the error message that we had mentioned before. So I guess while we wait for this, I'm going to go ahead and get it set up for listing. So where are we? We are here. Okay, so what was I going to do? So if you remember last week, we wrote a script for like listing, unlisting, renting. I just put it in one script. So I'm going to open that up and let's run JS. And then it's all the same information from before, but this time instead of doing like the full, okay, like I don't do JavaScript, guys, so don't expect any of this to be perfect. Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm so embarrassed. You shouldn't be here. Okay, I think this is it, right? So it just gets minted, and then we're gonna list that NFT. And then we'll forget about the renting and the unlisting part because Gelato should unlist it given the end date is actually going to pass. So we're going to make this super soon so that we don't have to sit here and wait until tomorrow to show that Gelato executed.
We could wait.
No, I only booked this room until like 5:30 or 6 p.m. So I can't do that. But I guess just to show.
We continue while walking through Berlin and wait for it. We continue the live stream.
I don't know if I have unlimited data, so I can't hotspot.
I've got unlimited
data. Yeah, I see. Oh, such a flex. Okay, so let's just make sure that there's nothing in here. And there isn't, right? That's what it looks like when it's empty. So if we go back, do we need to refresh this?
Maybe refresh this. Still waiting. Task logs might take a while. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so that was our message, right? No listings to unlist. So let's actually now populate it with a listing that is gonna be, I guess, removed right away. So you could just do exec scripts run yes. Okay. And this is 3 things. It's gonna mint the NFT. It's gonna add the marketplace as an approver for this function, and then actually list it. So we actually have to wait around and do all the confirmations. So this is the part that I actually find a little bit annoying with the dashboard because you do have to wait. So if you guys don't want to do like this clicking method, that would just be a simple go into your truffle config. What is it? Just like that. That's when you have to paste in your mnemonic. I'll send docs later. I don't want to explain it. But if you want me to send the docs later, you can sign up for our email list.
Ooh, shameless plug.
I feel a lot of shame. Do you not see me? Like I'm getting really red. Okay.
Shameless.
Okay, so this one was the approval. It's going to take some time because we are doing this on the actual test net.
Which is good. You should be testing on the actual test net.
Okay, I asked you about normal tests and you said test in prod. Like, you know, writing our JavaScript tests and everything. Or like,
as always, test on Ethereum mainnet.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to respect you as a developer when we first started. But yeah, okay, so it's there, right? So it's been listed. Now, I guess we just wait for Gelato to exec, right? Nice.
They saw it, and now
I don't know how long this will take.
This should be mine fairly soonish. You can let's wait for the new log.
Yeah, so I guess after this is unlisted, we should get back to the no listings to unlist because we only had one. Oh, and good job. It does kind of work after clicking the proxy toggle, so.
Okay. All right. Maybe there's a bit of a block delay on girly.
Okay, well, it did work.
Already mined. Under here.
Oh,
if you look at that, you
Yay.
can now press here. And it's not indexed yet, but
cool.
Probably the logs should tell us. Okay, it's not verified, but there's some logs, and this is like a log in the Gelato task treasury saying, hey, you got charged this amount for your transaction, right? And there are some events from your contract probably. And yeah, so it worked.
So that's everything. Yeah. I don't think I have anything more to demo. Yeah, we are at time if you need to leave, or we can just hop into Relay SDK if you want.
Yeah, I think I can just do a very brief Relay thing. I won't go into too much detail, but I think it's just worth having a quick overview about that. I would just be lazy and show existing code.
Okay, cool. I will stop sharing my screen. Okay. Oh, we didn't figure out how this is going to be like.
All right, so we will just keep talking.
Okay, cool. I've never done this real life. Can someone message that you can hear us?
That should be fine, I think.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, cool. So we are. I am sharing my screen. I hope you all see that.
Oh wait, no, I need to turn it on. No, this one. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Alrighty. So quick shameless plug actually. Let me just switch to this account. We're on the Mumbai testnet here. And there's some alpha for you all to see once more. Korudao. It's an NFT project that will drop pretty soon. It is a lot of fun. And I don't want to spoil the beans here because it's not public yet, but some alpha for the community is it's built on Lens protocol. So like an idea we wanted to hack together, which we found cool, is like on Lens protocol, like Twitter, right? Mm-hmm. Twitter for decentralized Twitter. And what we thought what would be cool is, let's say you have NFTs, and these NFTs, like let's say there are like 100 of these NFTs, and with this NFT you gain access to a Lens protocol account. And 100 different people that own an NFT each can post from the same account. It's like a shared social media account.
Oh,
and like,
that sounds like my alt Twitter.
And you can basically post some stuff about truffle in there, or basically different people can communicate from the same platform. And this platform can be big, and everyone can post for it. So like. It's giving voice to the people, and these people are just one community that all have this NFT. But let's say, what is Gelato like? Like what sucks in Web3 right now? It's like you as a normal user, like you as a developer or myself, it's sort of like easy. We know our way around this, right? But your users, if you're doing NFTs or gaming, right, they don't know what MetaMask is. They don't know, or they might know, but they don't want to know. that they need Matic on Polygon to pay for transactions or all sorts of things. You would like to give them a user experience which is as frictionless as possible. And one of the biggest friction in Web3 is gas and signing transactions and defining gas price, and they're getting stuck and all of that stuff. So what you can do with Gelato Relay is you can just import a very simple Web2 API to let users sign transactions off-chain and then give that signed data to Gelato's nodes, and they will pay for the transaction on their users' behalf. And you, as a dApp developer, you can sponsor them and you can pay for your users' transactions, which on Polygon, for example, is extremely cheap. And so here, what I can do is I can mint a CoroDAO NFT. And the cool thing here is that I don't need to send any sort of transaction on chain in order to mint. I can just sign some data here that is being shown to me, and this data will be sent to Gelato, and Gelato will get it mined and pay for my fees instead of me having to do it. So you can onboard everyone who has MetaMask or any other wallet without them having to have ETH or Matic or something else to pay for transactions. So now we signed the message, and now this NFT is being minted in the background. And once I have it, it will basically be there and be ready for me to play around and do whatever I like with them. And so how does that look? Very briefly, from a UI perspective, let me just increase the code here. So here's the UI. It's like I think it's a React UI. I'm not sure. And it has a mint function that is basically being called when I do the. Probably need to increase it, right? Yeah, this is being called when I press this mint button here. And what we have to do is there is this nice npm package that you can install, which is the Gelato Network Relay SDK, super simple to use. And the only thing you have to do is you have to instantiate the contract that you want to execute a function on, and then send some data to Gelato Relay in order for the relay to send the transaction instead of actually the user. The user just has to sign it. So what you have to do is you get the contract you want to execute a function on, then you get the data that you want that user to, the data that should be, the function that should be executed on behalf of the user, which in this case is the mint function, and it doesn't have any input, so it's just an empty array. You can use ethos with populate transaction here to get the data. And then you have to fill in a relay request. And the relay request is just like a chain ID. What chain do you want to post a transaction on? 18 different chain support, guys. 18. Who uses 18 different chains? I don't know. And then the target smart contract, right? Yeah. Which is in this case this NFT contract. And then the data that we just defined previously with the populate transaction function on the contract, and then the user that will sign this data. And then you have this function which is from the SDK, which is relay with sponsored user auth call. Basically, hey, the user authenticates and authorizes me as Gelato to get the transaction mined on their behalf. And what this does, it will pop up this signature request in MetaMask, and then you sign it, and then it will send it directly to Gelato in the background. And you get a task ID, and you can follow sort of the status of the transaction. And you have to input the relay request. You have to input the signer of the user, which is basically the one that will sign the payload, right? And then an API key that you will have. And this is basically an API key that you can get from a dashboard that probably we can just skip for now. The dashboard should be self-explanatory. Also, it still needs some work. One thing which is important to understand is that it does require you to sort of have certain frameworks used in your smart contract. So your smart contract need to be, for now at least, your smart contract needs to be meta transaction compatible and follow certain standards. And how you can do that, there are, for example, this is an NFT contract, and for example, OpenZeppelin offers you an ERC 721 meta transaction compliant NFT contract out of the box. So you can just import it in here. And the only thing which you sort of have to understand is that you usually use message sender, right? You usually use this to sort of know, is it like who is calling this function, right? Who is the message sender calling this function? But with meta transaction, the difference is that the message sender won't be the user. The message sender will actually be Gelato's relay contract. So you shouldn't use message sender because it would fail. What you need to use instead is basically underscore message sender. And what this does is it takes the address of the person who signed the data on the UI instead of the address of the entity that calls the smart contract. And this is secure because the user actually sort of authenticated this on the UI and said, yeah, I want to call this function. And so he signed it or she signed it. And then you can use that instead. And what we do here is we basically say, hey, only Gelato can call this function, which is important because you don't want anyone to just like call and mint arbitrary NFTs here, right? And then we have another modifier which says, hey, this person has to have a Lens protocol profile, so only Lens users can actually mint this NFT. This will be one of the requirements. And then there's this save mint function, and here you pass the address of the user who should receive the NFT, and this is this user that signed the transaction on the UI. And then what happens is basically this NFT will be minted for the user, and the user authenticated it, and the user didn't have to pay gas for it. And and there's basically this sort of relay context that we have developed that you can just easily port into your smart contracts, and it sort of has all these only Gelato relay modifiers and stuff already out of the box supported for you. So you just need to import them and then use them, and then it sort of works. And if we go back here, we see, hey, we just got our NFT minted, right? And what we can do now is you see here a bunch of I love truffle someone posted.
Wait, actually? Was that you?
Yeah, it was me. But so now I can I'm a new user and I can just say truffle is freaking amazing, right?
Oh, I'm so uncomfortable. I don't take compliments well.
And I can sign it, and then we actually don't only have the mint NFT function, which is meta transaction compatible, but also the post on Lens protocol that is meta transaction compatible, and now it will be posted and relayed without me having to pay for gas, because obviously you don't want the user to pay gas when they post stuff. And we have the docs, which are you can just go to docs at Gelato Network and then Gelato Relay SDK, and here we explain to you in detail how everything works, what you have to do in order to make it compatible. We're actually working on a system where you don't need to change your smart contracts anymore. They're just meta transaction compatible by default. That would be cool, but this requires a bit of work. So, but this is sort of how it works. So I don't want to go into too much depth here, but this is how you get gasless transactions on your UI. By the way, you can then pay for it. We have this sort of one balance system again. You can just deposit your Matic in there, and then you as a developer pay for all of these transactions for users, and you can charge them somewhere else. Maybe when they sell the NFT, you can charge like 5% of that and get the money back, right? But that's it. That's how it works.
Very cool. I mean, I really like that point about making development experiences frictionless. Also, shameless plug, I guess, Infura has our own NFT SDK as well as API. So finish your NFT rental marketplace, because I think in 3 weeks, October 6th, I will finally get around to handling the front end part. Just but the idea is you don't only want to rent contracts that you minted through us versus getting everybody the entire history of your NFTs. So correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is if you wanted to query a user's get me all of your NFTs, it would basically be going and you have to look at the entire blockchain and get that information, right? So with the API, what we do for you is create an indexer. So you're querying our index instead of getting the whole blockchain. So incorporating that information into populating what NFTs you can list on the market, for example. So that's the next step. Hopefully I can get that done by October 6th. If not, it's okay. It's because I was prepping for DevCon. If you guys are going to be there, optimism bridging. Okay, did I have any other questions?
We're already quite over time, right?
Yeah, we're 20 minutes over. It's okay. They're used to it. Cool. I guess the last piece is just how to stay connected with you or Gelato.
Yeah, totally. So we have a very active developer community in our Discord, all about automation, relaying, DevOps, Web3, this sort of thing. So you should be in there.
It's a really good Discord. I'm not gonna lie.
You should be in
Brandon.
there. Brandon, the OG, is in there. He actually came to Gelato through the Discord and Telegram, so he lives and breathes it.
And I've seen you in there a bit too, which is like good job.
I'm there every day. There every day. So just pop by in our Discord. It's the best place. And if you're at any event, say hi. We are usually there as well to just have a chat and talk about some dev stuff. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool. So I don't have my slides, but I guess update on what's happening. Next week, we're talking to Yandin Fu, who's the co-founder of LivePeer. We'll see if I have time. I think the goal is to live stream it to our website. For those of you who don't know, LivePeer is decentralized video streaming. And then after that is just our community call that happens once a month. The front end of the marketplace, if we'll get there, the Infura NFT API. And following, we'll bring on one of the Optimism protocol devs to talk about Bedrock, which is happening now, and I guess updates since I think they gave their talk on Monday. And then building, maybe, I don't know, figuring out what a bridging looks like. We'll see. I do these things on a weekly basis. But yeah, okay, we are over time. Thank you for joining. If you were here the entire time, thank you so much. I'll just go ahead and plug the type form in, it's in the description. If you want to sign up for our email list, whatever. And that's it. Okay, cool. So thank you so much, Hilmar. Thank you for the ice cream on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of DAF CON, and please rename your demo.
I will not.
Okay, see ya.